Hello, Verbling. How is everybody today? Today we are reading an article about gloomy thinking. We're going to learn some excellent vocabulary and hopefully get some great conversation in. Hi, Michael. Welcome back.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good. So you're doing a lot of English today, huh?
No, not a lot. Not so much.
Just 2 classes. That's good.
Not. I think this is third class or.
Oh, wow. 3rd class. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But not so much. I used to do about 8 classes from January till April. About.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot of 8 classes per day?
I think that's a lot. I think most students do 1 or 2.
No, but when I started, I couldn't speak, nothing. So I only understood you, for example, I understand you, but I couldn't express myself. So I did about 8, 12 classes per day.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So you see the result of these 8 classes per day.
I am amazed. I'm amazed. I can't believe it.
Thank you.
Wow. That's really great. You're dedicated.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Welcome back, Andrew.
Hey.
Coming back for another one? And Sergio, how are you? Sergio? Can't hear you, Sergio. You might be muted, or you might want to try changing your audio setting, your microphone to another option. All right. So today we are reading an article. And before we begin the article, I'd like to talk about something that's in the article. It's not the topic of the article, but it's about traditions for university. So when people in the US go to university, they usually move far away from their family home, and they live in a small room with many other students. But I think this tradition is different in a lot of countries. So I'd like to know what the tradition is in your country, how you experience university. Do you live in your family house? Do you move out of your family house? Or is there different ways to do it? So Andrew, tell us.
No, there is no such kind of tradition like in the United States. First of all, it depends on where you live. For example, if you live in the city where there are lots of colleges and universities, you shouldn't go away from your family and live in campus. You still can live in home and go to university every day. There is no such kind of tradition.
Okay, so it just depends on where you start. If you start in a city where there are universities, then you live in your family home.
Absolutely.
Okay. Michael, what do you think?
So my country is a small country, and it's not so big as the US. So usually people from capital, they when they study, they live with parents. They do not go to live in these places for students. How are they named in English? These places for students?
Dorms.
Dorms, yeah?
Yeah.
Where they live. So they do not go there to live because no reason, because the city is very small, and you can from university in 20 minutes can be in other parts of the city where you want to be. But people from all around the country and countryside that live, they usually cannot go home from university and every day. So they live in dorms usually because it's cheaper and instead to rent an apartment in the city, they live in dorms because it's cheaper. It's not so
I
expensive.
see. All
Yeah.
right.
It's cheap and dirty,
Yeah.
right?
Dorms are actually can be very expensive, I think, but it's seen as part of the college experience. So part of the experience of university is living with the students, living in the dorms. So here, even if you start, like I live in a really big city, but when I went to university, I moved out of my family home and I went to live somewhere else.
Where did you study?
I studied in Tucson, Arizona.
But you live in Tucson, no?
Well, I live in Phoenix, but
Oh, in Phoenix.
there's several large universities here, and my brother went to university in Phoenix, and he lives in an apartment. He doesn't live in our family home. He lives on his own in an apartment with other students.
Did you pay for your studies or was free studies?
Well, it was free because I got a scholarship. So, if you do certain things, sometimes you can get free university, but for most students, it's very expensive to go to school.
About 20,000? How much does it cost?
It depends. It depends where you go to school, because if you go to school in the state you already live in, it's usually about
Cheaper.
maybe 9,000 per 9,000 for tuition plus dorm. So that would be
Per
maybe
year.
maybe like 13,000 per year if you include dorm and food and that kind of thing. But if you go out of state, if I went to California or New York to go to school, it could be 30,000 a year. It could be more.
It is because you pay taxes in your state, yeah? Because of this, it's cheaper for you.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but how can you pay taxes in your state if you haven't worked yet? If you're a student, if you are in your teens, for example, or in your early 20s.
Well, your parents have paid taxes.
Okay.
So
Your parents, okay.
yeah, your family, I guess.
I read this from articles about universities in Canada and United States, why it's cheaper for residents and why it's cheaper for that person who lives in province or in state. I read about that.
Interesting article.
Yeah, and also education is more expensive for foreigners, right?
Yeah, it is usually more expensive.
Twice or 3 times
Yeah,
than for residents.
yeah, it's actually really expensive. That's one thing that I think is so ridiculous about the US is how expensive university is, and education in general is so expensive. I think it's something that could be reformed, but hopefully in the next few years we'll see it.
It's high quality education. So for high quality you need to pay more money. They think in this way.
I agree, but having been to university, sometimes it seems so ridiculous because the tuition is expensive, and a lot of the money that you pay to tuition goes for things that are unimportant to the university. For instance, grass. The university I went to has a lot of grass, and the place we live, there's no water. So just their water bill was thousands and thousands of dollars. And a large portion of what I pay to the university goes just to their water bill, just their grass. So it's like, why am I going to pay an extra $1,000 to have a piece of grass? Grass does not improve my education.
What do you mean by grass? Green on the
plants.
ground?
Yeah, plants,
okay.
green. So sometimes I agree that I think good quality education is worth a lot, but I also think that many universities misspend the money. They spend it in a way that's not improving the education. They spend it for cosmetic reasons. So they make their school beautiful, but a beautiful school isn't always the best education.
How can I say you see better than me, but in a proper way? I mean that you there live, so you better know than me. How we can say?
Perhaps maybe you mean
phrase.
perspective, like I have more perspective. My perspective is different because I'm within the country.
No, I mean that you know better than me. This
Yeah.
I want to say that
You can. That's
this
perfectly grammatically correct. You know
Okay.
better than I.
Yeah, because you live there, so I trust you.
I think it's true. I think it's worth the cost to go to university, but still sometimes it makes me angry because it's expensive and I feel like the money I spend is going to things that I don't care about. Even sports is an issue. Like a lot of the tuition goes to sports, but I don't play sports. So that kind of thing used to make me angry. But it's not important and it's not the topic of the class. So, do you guys have the article open?
Yes.
Excellent. It's called Gloomy Thinking Can Be Contagious. And there's that little blue box with the white triangle. After class, if you guys want to listen to this article, you can play it and you can listen to it. We won't do that now, though. Right now, we're going to read it. So first paragraph, Andrew, go for it. Uh-oh. Can you guys
hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay now.
Sorry.
You know, I've just forgotten to unmute my microphone. Okay. When students show up at college in the fall, they will have to deal with new classes, new friends, and new environment. In many cases, they will also have new roommates, and in intriguing new research study suggests this can have important mental health consequences.
Awesome. Any vocabulary questions? Intriguing? Do we know that one?
Interesting.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
next. Interesting. Next paragraph, Michael, your turn.
At the University of Notre Dame, psychologist Gerald Heffel has recently obtained results from a natural experiment that unfolds every year at the university in a paper published recently in the journal Clinical Psychological Science. Heffel and co-author Jennifer Hames report that roommates can have strong effects, both positive and negative, on one another mental health.
Thank you very much. Okay, now since it's just us three, I'm going to have you guys read larger sections. So, Andrew, would you
read? What is unfolds?
Unfold. So, fold is when you kind of put something in on itself. Okay. Unfold is to open up or to take the folds away and to make something visible.
So he is not literal but figurative meaning.
Yes, it's a figurative meaning. So when his experience unfolds, it just means that things are appearing, like his experience is occurring. It's a fancy, poetic way to say that that he's experiencing it.
But what we can fold in literal meaning?
Unfold in a literal meaning? Here, hold on. I'll put myself on the... Fold in a literal meaning is like this. Okay. Fold. Okay. And unfold is to open like this.
Okay. Fold. But what we can fold in the books? What?
Paper or anything that's bendable. You could fold plastic or letters, okay. Clothes. Oftentimes you fold clothes in order to put them in a drawer.
Okay.
Okay. So, Andrew, will you read the next 3 paragraphs?
Okay. Like many schools, Notre Dame assigns new students their roommates. Heffel recruited some of the students for a study and measured their psychological predispositions. Okay. One of the things he was interested in was how different students respond to adversity. Take for example, two hypothetical young scholars who do poorly on a classroom test. One student fails the exam and thinks to herself, "I'm dumb, I'm worthless, I can't believe I failed this exam." Hayfel says, the same student may also engage in catastrophic thinking. Imagine that because she failed the exam, she is going to fail the class or even flunk out of college. By contrast, though the other students no. By contrast, though the other student also tells herself it was disappointing to fail, she puts it down to a lack of preparation. She tells herself, "I'll work harder next time."
Okay, thank you. How about vocabulary questions first? Any vocabulary questions?
Flunk.
Flunk. Flunk is a way to say fail. So if you didn't succeed or you did poorly in something, you can say flunk.
Okay.
Flunk out of college, it means kick out of college, yeah.
Yeah.
Be kicked out.
And why he is written about her, not he, but her, not them, not in general, but about woman.
Well, this is actually an interesting topic. There's no reason why he wrote her instead of him, but in English we kind of have a problem because there's no pronoun for a non male or female. So
but the teacher said they. When her, he, her, yeah, his, her is they. You need to say. It's not correct.
Well, it's not grammatically correct, but it's what's used. So I use it all the time, and so do most English speakers. Instead of saying his or her, they use they, but it's actually not grammatically correct.
Not?
No.
It's
called,
okay.
It's called political correctness nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not exactly grammatically correct. For instance, in my English class, I would always get points marked off my paper for using it because it's something that people use all the time, especially native speakers. They use it all the time, but it's not grammatically correct. So I would tell you to continue using it. But sometimes if you see in a very formal article, it's written either him or her or he or she, it's because using they is actually not grammatically correct.
So it's okay to write an example about someone and to specify or her or he or man or woman, yeah? But kind of you do not want to specify that only with women happens this, but you mean in general idea, but it's okay to her to write.
Exactly. So yeah, this person clearly is talking about students in general, and he's saying her, but he's talking generally. It doesn't have to be a her. It could be him also.
And this is not a mistake.
Not a mistake. Not a mistake.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Hi, Lily. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing very well. Do you have the article open?
No, I don't see the link.
Okay, I will put it in the chat box. Are you on the Verbling chat box?
Yes.
Okay. It's in the Verbling chat box.
Thanks.
And Michael, will you summarize what we've talked about in class so far?
About students that go to study to university and they go to they live in how did you say rooms or what?
Dorm rooms.
Dorm rooms. Yeah, you see, I do not know this word. I need to repeat this word more time, so I will learn. And they live there, and he has written an example that some persons they give kind of an example. I didn't understand yet about what is this example.
Okay, we'll be talking more about this too. So, were there other vocabulary questions from that part that we just read? Were there any other words you guys had questions on? Catastrophic? How about catastrophic?
Not productive.
What?
Not productive.
It's a little more than not productive. That's true.
Yeah, I mean worse than not productive. Bad thinking.
Yeah, something that's just terrible, like something that's the worst. Something catastrophic would mean like an explosion of a bomb, like something really intense happened. Something tragic happened.
Yeah, I know what is catastrophic, but how is catastrophic thinking? Could you give an example how to think catastrophic?
Catastrophic thinking would be when you take something and you make it more intense. So if I eat a potato chip, and then all of a sudden I start to think, oh my God, I ate a potato chip. I'm going to gain 8 pounds and I'm going to become fat and no one is going to like me anymore because I'm fat. So you take something little and you make it a huge, terrible event. You start to think really negatively and it becomes kind of like this huge explosion of negativity and a disastrous event.
Yeah, that person need to go outside if he think about a potato.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other vocabulary questions? No.
What's the extrapolate? Extrapolate?
Does anyone know what extrapolate means?
Develop.
Yeah, kind of like develop. Is there anything else you can add?
Yeah, but I need to find where it's written.
Where it's used. Yeah, I think we haven't gotten to where it says that, but if it's just a general question about the word, it's something, it's like guessing about something. So if you know something like simple, like dogs like bones, dogs like to eat bones, you might extrapolate that dogs like to eat the meat on bones. Or maybe if you have one dog and he likes bones, you might think all dogs like bones. So you take a small piece of information you have and you apply it to other things.
Yeah.
Okay.
You deduct.
Yes, deduct.
The information that you have.
Excellent synonym. Thank you. Okay, so since we just talked about these few paragraphs, these are important paragraphs in the article. And so basically we have these two students. One student failed a test and they thought, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I'm never going to be good. I should just quit now. And they start to think terrible things because they failed this test. And the other student is more calm and they think, I failed this test, but the next time I'm going to be more prepared. I'm a smart person. I'm going to study, and I'm going to get an A in this class because I'm a good student and I'm smart. So I would like to know which you guys think you are. And it's okay, whatever you say. Both are okay. I'll go first. I think I'm more of the catastrophic thinker. So sometimes it's easy for me to stress myself out. I think one thing like something happened that was bad, and I start to think, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be the worst. This is going to be awful. Sometimes I think like that, and other times I'm more calm about stuff. It sort of depends on the situation. But I'd like to know what you guys think. So Lily, would you like to go first and tell us which you think you are? Are you more like the student that is a catastrophic thinker, or are you more calm and relaxed and confident?
I Now that I've changed. Yes. Before I think like the other one, catastrophic thinker. But now it's like I become other people. Oh, yes. I'm thinking about the other side, like being more positive and stay strong. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, common. When I was young, I was I was worse. I was more a catastrophic thinker.
Yeah.
And when you kind of mature and you develop, you become more confident and it's
Exactly.
easier.
Yeah.
It's a little easier.
Yeah.
Andrew, how about you?
You know, my motto is calm down and carry on. It means, and the second kind of person you mentioned before. No, to be honest with you, I used to be like a catastrophic person maybe 10
Mhm.
years ago, but now I think there is nothing impossible, and if I failed in something, I can redone it.
Excellent. That's a very healthy way to think.
Hmm.
Michael, what do you think? How are you?
I think I'm catastrophic thinking because when, for example, internet is not working, I think that it comes a third war, world war. Cool example.
Yes, an
Did you like?
excellent
No,
example.
I
Yeah.
just joking. I just joking, of course. No, I think it's all okay. I don't care much about if something happened. I think it's okay. If something happened, it's okay. It's impossible to be all straight line. Yeah, how we can say.
You mean like it's impossible for everything to be correct
I,
all the time.
yeah, all the time correct, and life to be a straight line.
Yeah, life
So,
is a little more complex. It's a little more dramatic and real. Not everything is perfect.
it's up and downs. Yeah, up and down. So
Yeah,
Ups
yeah.
and downs,
if
yeah.
today is down, tomorrow will be up, and vice versa. If tomorrow will be up, after 1 year will be down. So it's okay. I'm on these waves.
Exactly. Very
Okay.
smart, man.
Have you ever heard the expression, everything happened for a reason?
Yes, I have. Tell us what that means.
it it has literal meaning. Everything happened for a reason. If it happened, it had to be happened. If it happened, it had to be happened, right?
Mhm. Exactly.
And we weren't able to do anything just to prevent it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes something happens and it seems bad, but then you realize later that it wasn't so bad, or that maybe it was even a good thing.
Yeah. Maybe it may be the causes of good things, yeah, in future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It
It's
could be
a
everything.
gliss in disguise, or what the idiom
A
is.
blessing in disguise.
Yeah, blessing in disguise. Yeah,
Yes,
I heard
exactly.
this idiom 3 times or 4 times, but I can't remember properly.
Here, I'll write it in the chat box for you.
A blessing in disguise.
Blessing. Blessing in disguise. Okay. So, let's continue reading. I'm going to ask Lily to read for us. Do you know where we are, Lily?
No.
We just finished the section that the last line is tell herself I'll work harder next time. And
Okay.
the first line where you're going to start, it starts
It's
these two
these two
reactions.
reaction.
Mhm.
Okay,
So,
just the paragraph or
read 2 paragraphs.
okay. These two reactions to the very same event can have very real implication for depression. Health says. The student who sees the failure in extremely personal terms and then extrapolates from that failure to a host of other problems down the road is at a at significantly higher risk of depression. He says that the student who puts this setback down to circumstances and bounce back from it. Heifel, Heifel, Heifel and Hams measure the way students in their study tended to frame such situations when they first arrived at Notre Dame. The, the, researcher, the researchers were then able to track pairs of roommates who had similar thinking styles and see whether and how their thought patterns changed in comparison to roommate pairs who started out with very different thinking styles.
Good job. Thank you. That was a very difficult couple paragraphs.
Yes.
Advanced vocabulary here. So, vocabulary questions?
What does setback mean?
A setback is something that's negative, something that negatively impacts you. So
Okay.
it literally sets you back. You have to start again or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Vocabulary questions?
Bounces back from it.
Bounces? So
Yeah.
bounces is like when you have a rubber ball and you throw it to the ground and it comes back up. That's a bounce. So if something bounces back, it means it returns. So if you say figuratively the economy is bouncing back, you're saying it's returning to where it was. It was here before and then it went down and then it went up again. So it's returning.
Okay.
Other questions? Vocabulary questions?
What's the meaning of pattern?
Does anyone want to explain pattern, or can anyone explain what a pattern is?
Pattern is like an example, right?
Mm-hmm. So what's an example of a pattern? How about a pattern can be like a design? For instance, let me put myself up here. The pattern on this little bag here is roses. So you have many roses, and it's a pattern. It's something that repeats. So since there's repeating, I also have a stripe pattern on my dress. They're repeating things.
Okay.
Other vocabulary questions? Don't be afraid.
I think okay. I already asked you about extrapolate, so.
All right. Well, if you have any questions at the end, we can also answer them at the end.
Okay.
Michael, will you read the next 3 paragraphs, starting with Hoffel says?
Hoffel says he was surprised to find that within just 3 months, the roommates with different styles began to infect one another. These thinking styles were contagious, he says. If you came to college and your roommate had a very negative thinking style, your own thinking style became more negative. Hoffel says that it seems counterintuitive. How to read this word?
Counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive, that you can catch someone's style of thinking like you could catch a cold or the flu. But 6 months after living with a roommate with a negative thinking style, some formerly cheerful students were showing signs of cognitive vulnerability known to put them at risk for depression.
Okay. So, vocabulary questions. We had a lot of interesting vocabulary in these 3 paragraphs.
What about the word vulnerable, but it says vulnerability, right?
Yeah, vulnerability. So what's the difference between vulnerable and vulnerability? It's the difference.
Vulnerable, it's an adjective, right?
Huh?
Vulnerability is an adverb.
Nope.
No?
It's a noun.
It's a
So,
noun.
yeah. So, cognitive vulnerability, it's talking about the susceptibility or the way that it's a noun for the way that your brain is affected by other things. So it can suck up other ideas very easily. It's vulnerable.
Vulnerable also means unprotected, right?
Uh-huh, unprotected.
Counterintuitive.
Yes, I love this word, counterintuitive.
I never
So
heard this word.
it's a long word, and it's easier if you just break it up into its 2 different parts. So we have counter and intuitive. Does anyone know what intuitive means?
Yeah, like the fixed sense, yeah? Intuitive.
Yeah, it's like something that makes, yeah, your intuition is something that you already know, something that makes sense to you, something that you think about and is easy. Counterintuitive is the opposite of that. So counter is the opposite. Anytime you see counter in front of a word, it's going to mean the opposite. Counterintuitive is when something doesn't really make sense, or something is the opposite of what you would think. So if you think it's one way, it's the opposite. It's counterintuitive. Any other vocabulary questions? Do you guys think that this idea is intuitive or counterintuitive? They say it's counterintuitive because you can catch someone's mental state. So if you live with someone who's a really negative person, then you might become more negative. And if you live with someone that's a positive person, then you might become more positive. Do you guys think that this is true?
Yeah,
I think it's depend of person. You see, if the person is easy to influence him, for example, maybe it can happen. But some people, it's not easy to influence him. It's like he's standing up with his idea and he don't change,
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it can depend on the person.
But the thing is that if you are in a negative situation, for example, it's easy to influence you. So it's maybe at this time, yes, you're.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew, do you agree with her, or do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, I've got a different opinion. I agree to the article, the author of the article, and it happens subconsciously. Sometimes you even can't understand if it happens to you. The everything what surrounds you has impact on you. That's inevitable. Yeah, that's in any way.
Definitely. Michael, how do you think? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they think that they wrote an article that if you live with someone negative, yeah, you became negative, yeah. Why not? Why they not written vice versa? That if you live with someone negative, that person negative will become positive because of you. Why you become negative?
It could be. It could be.
Interesting.
Michael, it could be.
Yes, it could be. But as I said, if you are in a difficult situation, sometimes it's become easy to influence people. It's become easy to to become negative like the other people. The other
Do you guys
people.
think
It's
it's
like
easier? Do you guys think it's easier to become happier or more negative? So, like, do you think if you put a very happy person and a very negative person in a room together, do you think they're each going to change a little, or do you think one person will change, like the happy person will become negative, or the negative person become happy? What do you guys think?
I think the negative influence has more power.
yes, yes.
Why
It
so?
has more power, but once you become happy, it's like it stay. It's I don't know how to explain it.
Why negative influence has more power? Who could explain me?
Okay, let's assume that we are roommates and I am negative person and you, Michael, is absolutely happy man. After a year living with me, you will feel not so happy. I assure you, man.
Oh,
You will feel negative, and because the influence, you just couldn't understand how it happened, just subconsciously, right?
In my opinion,
Maybe.
that nothing will change. Negative person will remain negative, and positive will remain positive, and with small deviations in this behavior. I mean, in your thinking. So maybe minus 20% of negativity or positivity.
Interesting. So you think the person would remain largely the same, but maybe with small changes?
Yeah, of course. How you need to be very gloomy, yeah, as is wrote in the
Yes,
article,
exactly.
to change so drastically from positive to negative, and vice versa, from negative to positive.
And whose turn is it to read? Is it Michael's turn?
No, I read, I think.
Oh, okay.
it's
Then,
Andrew.
okay, Andrew. Will you start with interestingly Huffle found?
Okay. Interestingly, Huffle found that the reverse could be true as well. Some students with a gloomy disposition who got a cheerful, upbeat roommate were more likely to be cheerful and upbeat 6 months later. When confronted by a setback, such as a bad grade or a romantic breakup, these students began demonstrating some of the resilience of their cheerful companions. Heifel says the study showed that a widely held model about temperament and behavior might need revision. Researchers have long assumed, he says, that the positive and negative traits he spotted in the college students were more or less fixed after adolescence, in part because those traits seemed stable in people over subsequent decades. Should I
Okay.
continue?
No, that's good. So let's
Okay.
talk about the vocabulary here. Gloomy, we all already know, right?
Yeah, can we say gloomy and blue? It's both of these words synonyms, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're synonyms for sure.
Disposition. With a gloomy
Disposition.
disposition.
So what's a disposition?
State of mind.
Yeah, that's a good definition. Any other vocabulary questions?
About upbeat.
Upbeat. Upbeat usually means someone who's happy or cheerful, and it has to do with music. So the upbeat in music is when something's like a quick tempo and it sounds happy. So we use upbeat to mean someone that sounds happy. Other vocabulary questions? Nothing? What about revision? What's a revision?
revisions like
With this.
To see again.
Yeah, like to change something, to improve it.
Mm.
So revision, yeah, to see again, literally is to see again. Usually after it's been changed slightly. So if you revise something, you're changing it a little bit to improve it, but nothing, no big changes, just like a little correction.
Revise? Revise, is it the synonyms of review? Revise, to revise, and to review.
Review is when you look at something again. So if you
Like repetition.
Yeah, repetition. You might read it a second time or look at it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Revision is when you actually change something on it.
yes.
I think that's a British word, to revise. It means to repeat one more time, like, for example, to revise the class, to revise the lessons.
Oh, rewind?
Revise. R-E-V-I-S-E. Revise.
Oh,
Maybe I'm wrong.
revise? No, yeah, revise is the verb form of revision. So revision is the noun and revise is the verb.
But the meaning is different, as you said. Oh,
Maybe in British English it's different. I wouldn't know.
okay. Thank you.
Any other vocabulary questions?
What's the meaning of subsequent?
Subsequent is everything after. So when we talk about a sequence, we're talking about like, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a sequence. So subsequent is everything after, meaning that when they're talking here, they say everything after adolescence is fixed. So they assumed that in college it's fixed, but it's not. So they're saying everything after this decade, subsequent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's read this next paragraph. This one is a long one, so Lily, I'm going to ask you to just read this one paragraph.
Okay. But instead, he says, those traits may be more like a language than like a psychical characteristic such as high. By adolescence, people get very good at speaking a certain psychological language, responding to adversity in a certain fixed way. But just as people can learn a new tongue if they're suddenly immersed in a new environment where people around them are speaking a different language, the experience of coming to college might have the same effect on the psychological makeup of young adults, Hefel says. When gloomy people spend lots of time with someone who has a cheerful outlook, it can change their psychological language. When cheerful people spend time around gloomy roommates, it can darken their outlook.
Excellent, thank you. Michael, will you read the last paragraph?
Yeah, I have some question about vocabulary.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Immersed.
Immersed. Does anyone know that word?
Immersed. It's like, for example, if you move in another country, so you are immersed in other people's. I don't know how to explain. I understand what that is. No,
Immerse is like when you're completely covered in something or you absorb something.
Exactly.
Like, for instance, if you're in water, you might immerse yourself in water, and that would mean that you enter the water and you completely cover yourself. You're underwater.
And the figurative meaning, where we can use this word?
Usually it's used with languages. So if you immerse yourself in a new culture or a new language or a new way of life, environment. Yeah, you cover yourself in this new atmosphere.
Can you say immerse in the news?
Immerse in the news?
Yeah.
As in like something you watch on TV, the news?
Yeah, the meaning that's in informational flow of information, something
You
like
could say if you sometimes people watch the news and
Yeah.
they totally ignore everything else that's
Yeah.
happening around them. Like you're watching the news and you've got your best friend next to you saying like, "Oh, come on, let's go," or "Talk to me," or "Hey, how are you doing?" And you're ignoring them completely. Then you might say you're immersed, you're completely submerged in this activity, and you can't be outside of it. So yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
to get in there, yeah. To get
Yeah.
into something. Okay.
Yeah, when you're really into something.
What is psychological makeup?
The things that make up your psychology. So the attributes and the different characteristics of your psychological makeup, like your brain. So if you're a generally cheerful person, then your psychological makeup is cheerful or negative, gloomy.
Okay. And he has written it can change the psychological language. What language?
When they say language here, they're using it loosely, kind of in a figurative way.
How
so
they use loosely? Did you say?
I said loosely, yeah.
What is that?
It means that it's not a strict definition. It's not like they're not actually talking about a language, but that it's like a language. If you use a word loosely, it means you're using it like figurative, or you're using it in a unique way, in a way that it has an abstract meaning.
Okay.
It doesn't have a hard meaning.
How is spelled loosely?
I'll put it in the chat box for you.
Yeah, it's a new word.
Loosely, like this.
Okay.
It's just the adverb of loose. Okay. Any other vocabulary questions?
Can you say like psychological makeup is like a way of thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
We've got a new student, Swelly. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, it's okay.
Where are you from?
Brazil,
Awesome. Where in Brazil?
São Paulo.
Excellent. We're just at the end of this article. Would you like to read the very last paragraph for us?
Yes, it's okay. The point of defines, Heffel says, is not that you have to surround yourself with cheery people all the time. At a practical level, that is impossible. Rather, he says, it's good to know that some internal traits are malleable and what time and effort people can teach themselves new languages.
Awesome. Okay. So, malleable. Malleable is something that's moldable or changeable. So it's not something that's hard and defined. It's something that you can move and you can change and becomes different.
Okay. So can I say his attitude is malleable? Yeah. Okay.
Any other vocabulary questions? Any other thoughts on the article?
Is rather and instead synonym or?
Yeah, they are synonyms. Yeah. So rather, you're basically exchanging one for the other.
Okay.
It's the same as instead.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other thoughts on the topic or anything we talked about today?
Ask us a question because we have many thoughts.
Okay. How about, do you think that you are as changeable as these college-age students? Meaning, do you think that you personally are very affected by the people around you? Or do you think that you're very solid and you are not malleable, that you won't change? I'm going to ask Andrew first. So, Andrew, do you think that if you live with a gloomy person, you would become gloomy? Or do you think that you're very strong and it wouldn't affect you?
It kind of affects me. If I lived with a gloomy student, it would kind of infect me. But the best way is try to avoid such situations, such students. But I think
Yeah.
that's true because environment influence us in an amazing way.
Yeah, definitely. So it's best to surround yourself with cheery people then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lily, how about you?
I think it depends on situation also.
So you
Maybe
think sometimes you're one way and sometimes you're the other?
Yes. It depends on situation.
What's a situation which you think you might be more malleable?
For example, I know what is my how to say it. I don't know what's the word.
Describe it.
Oh my gosh, how to say the. For example, I am when I am angry, I don't want to speak to anyone. That is a bad thing. I know that is bad. But how can you say if there's a word that
You're introverted? So if you don't like to bring your emotions out, you're introverted? Is that what you're saying?
yes, but it's a part. It's a character. Yes, it's a character, and it's not a good character. And how do you say? What's the
Stubborn?
word?
Stubborn? No?
Maybe I don't know.
So
I have no idea.
stubborn is when you are very unchanging. So if you think something and someone tries to convince you of something else, you just say no and you stick to what you originally thought.
Yes.
Okay. Stubborn. I'm stubborn too, and it's not a good way to be.
Yes, it's not a good, but it's like this is me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I said, okay, I want to change. I want to talk if I'm angry. I want to say, but if I speak, if I'm angry and I speak at the same time, that could be bad because I want to say anything that I think, and it can. I don't know how to say that, but it can be a big problem, you know. So yes, I prefer to stay before. I prefer to don't speak, and after that, I'm thinking about it. What can I say exactly, and then I speak. Yeah. So, but for example, if I have a roommate and he's not person like this, and he always try to express what he's think when he's angry or something like this, and he tried to give me advice, for example, to being to live this character. Maybe he can influence me, you know. in this way. Yes, I can.
Michael, are you more like Lily or more like Andrew?
I think if I would live with gloomy or other kind of persons, I would be influenced in about 20%, yeah, plus minus. So because I would see that I'm influenced and I would quit from that situation.
I see.
Yeah?
So you have more personal control. So you do think you're influenced, but you would take personal control over it.
Yeah. Michaela, what are you going to do now after the class?
Now I'm going to sleep.
It's 5 o'clock, yes? No,
Yes, it's 5 o'clock.
And
5 a.m. for me.
Yeah, it's like in California. Oh, cool. Yeah. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Thank you
Not
for
night sleep.
Yeah, thank you for a great class, guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you next
Sweet
time.
dreams.
See you.
And have a great day.
Bye.